my friends. Jerry Rosa here in the Rosa Stringworks Man Cave. And just moments ago, I confirmed that Don Davis, the guitar player, well, actually, he's our bass player in the band, but Don Davis, you know how well he plays guitar. He will be here this coming Thursday evening, and it will be just Don and myself, and we'll be picking some tunes, and I'm sure he'll be playing some tunes on that guitar. And so you'll get to hear a lot more of his picking on Thursday evening. So that was a pretty cool announcement, I think. I also, moments ago, just had more time to contemplate why everything looks so bizarre on the screen and you can't point to anything. Well, I think I figured it out. In a mirror, everything is just basically backwards. In other words, the word man cave there on the screen, the word man cave on the wall over there is not backwards. To me, it's exactly correct. But if it were a mirror, it would be right there. If, like in a mirror, you can point directly to something. Even though it's backwards, you can point right to it. Well, that's where it would be if this was a mirror. It's hard to explain, but it's actually here. And it's because the words and things are not backwards, but they're backwards compared to what you're used to looking at in a mirror. It's really hard to explain. But because like when I look at that, it's not backwards, but yet it's backwards to the way you would point to something. If that makes any sense. I don't know if that makes sense or not. But honestly, if it were a mirror, if I was looking at a mirror, that word man cave would be right there. So that's why it's so hard to point to anything. It's completely screwed up. It's just messed up. Well, anyway, that's not what we came here to talk about today. First of all, I was going to start this off with, boy, I had a slow weekend. I didn't do much. And then I started writing out all the things I did, and I thought, well, that's quite a bit. So I thought I'd read to you a list of some of the things I did. Some of this has video backup and other things coming down the road here too. But one of the first things I did was I cleaned out the Martin houses. I do actually have a little tiny video on that, so let me just show you that while we're there. It's Sunday afternoon, and I thought I'd come down and check out the Martin houses. Here's what I dug out, and that's after just a couple of days. I mean, that's a huge pile. That would fill up a 5-gallon bucket. So what I do is I burn these because they'll just put it right back in the nest if I leave it lay here. They are so aggressive, it's really hard to explain how aggressive those birds are at building nests. It's amazing. Everything's good and damp, so there's not much chance of catching anything on fire, even if it blows, because it's a pretty windy day out here. But everything's pretty wet. Hoping the sparrows will get the message after they see their nest burning up. Unlikely. I don't know if you noticed there, you probably didn't, but on the ground, there were just hundreds of like little circle holes and with little mounds around them. And I assume they're just anthill moles. And there are hundreds of them. They're just everywhere on the ground. So I don't know what the deal is with that. I didn't think we had that many ants around here, but there are hundreds of those holes with little rings of dirt around them. I don't know what that is. But they literally are over that whole area that was graded for that new riding ring. Okay, well, so I did clean out the Martin houses. That was one thing I did, and I burned, as you saw there, I burned that stuff. Well, another thing I did was I made a video on the Andeli MiG 135 welder. And to make that video, I fixed my bucket for my mini skid steer. I bought a new bucket, a large bucket, and so in other words, it did not come with the skid steer. I bought it separately. And when I got it, I was disappointed because the Quick Connect had a lot of extra space in it and it's real sloppy fit. So I thought, well, I'll just make myself some 1/4-inch spacers, put them in there to take up some of that slop. It takes up about half of the slop. It had about a 1/2 inch of slop in it, but even taking up a 1/4 inch is quite a bit. So that's what I did was I made some fabricated a couple of like spacer washers, and then I welded them in with that new Andeli welder. I used both the stick part of the welder and I used the MIG or the wire feed part of the welder, and I made a video about that. I have the video completely finished. It is already uploaded. I'm just waiting for Andeli to give me their stamp of approval. I'm thinking they're going to approve it because it turned out really nice. Everything worked out really well. So that was another thing that I didn't think I did anything. And like I literally thought I just didn't do anything over the weekend. So that was the second thing I did. And then another thing I did that you can see if you go to my website, you'll notice that I updated the products I use page. I haven't updated that in quite a while. I added this camera and a couple of goodies like this mounting post or whatever you want to call this thing. It's like a selfie stick and it's a tripod all in one. It's a pretty cool deal, and it's just a handle also. So I put the camera, the selfie stick, and I think I put the camera cover on there. Those are the 3 products that I got for the camera that I really like, including the camera that I really like. So I put those on the products I use page. I also put the new welder on the products I use page. Not so much to say that it's something I use every day or every time. It's that it has my stamp of approval. It's made well. The design is good. It does what it's supposed to do, all of that. So I put that on the products I use page too. I like it real well. It's a good welder. Then let's see, what else did I do that I didn't do, didn't think I did? Well, I sawed up 2 logs for my brother Scott. He came down and he had 2 black locust logs. They were short. They're only like barely 4 feet long. But he wanted them sawed up into guitar blanks. Well, actually, he just wanted them 1/4 sawed enough that he could make some guitar blanks out of them. And so we did that. We sawed all that up. So that was another thing that I kind of forgot I did. And then another thing I kind of forgot I did was I took the Samsung refrigerator, took it apart again. I took the whole bottom area completely apart. I mean, like everything out of the bottom. Well, I say everything. I mean, all the easy stuff to get out, number one, like all the big trays and things. I got all that out. Then I took the actual door off the front. Then I crawled in on my back up inside there so I could look up at the ice maker. And I put the parts that fell out of the ice maker back in the ice maker. They fell out a couple of weeks ago, and it's been just making really crummy ice ever since. In other words, instead of individual ice cubes, they were all sticking together in long clumps. So I didn't know I knew these parts obviously had to come out of the ice maker, but I didn't know where they went. They were kind of like nondescript parts. They really didn't, just by the look of them, you couldn't tell what they did or what they were supposed to do. But it turned out there were 2 of these parts, and those 2 parts clamped together. I figured that out. And then you push the whole thing up inside the ice machine, and it clamped in place too. It's making good ice again. Then I had to put all that back together. So that's another thing I didn't really do this weekend. I really did think I was going to have to tell you that I just didn't do anything over the weekend. And then I got to thinking about it, and I thought, doggone, I kind of did a lot of stuff. So that was another thing. And then let's see, I cleaned out the big wood furnace, the outdoor wood furnace. I cleaned that out, and then I put my 5-gallon bucket over the end of the flue. So that pretty much closes that up for the season. It got pretty chilly last night, and the house is pretty cold. This house gets cold very easy, so Sue's not real happy. It might be that I'll have to start that furnace back up, but right now it's put away for the summer. Let's see. Then I spent that was another thing I didn't really do. Then another thing that I didn't do was I was over on the apartment over here, and I worked on the Wi-Fi for over an hour. It was working. It was physically working just fine. But what I was trying to do was to put a guest password associated to it rather than our main password. And I had done that before and never had a problem with it. And I've done it lots of times on other things around here. And I mean, I'm real good with routers and Wi-Fi and all that stuff. But I could not figure out how to change that password on that system this time. I had changed it once before, a long time ago. I even reinstalled it from scratch, and it wouldn't let me pick a password anywhere in the whole installation process. So they must have changed the software after we had updated the firmware or something. They must have changed something, because it will not let me pick a different password. I tried and tried and tried and tried for over an hour. So that's just another thing that I didn't do over the weekend. And then finally this morning, I had a pond crisis. Now, I shot a whole video on this. I'm just going to show you like the intro video, if you will. And then I actually did fix the whole problem and everything. And I am going to release a video probably today on that, because I've actually spent the rest of the morning producing the video, and I think I've got it finished. I'm ready to upload it. So hopefully that video, that you'll get to see the whole video today on how I fixed this problem. But here is the pond crisis intro video. Well, my friends, it's Monday morning, and on my never-ending list of problems that just surfaced so that I have something to do, here's another one. See all this water down in here? Can you actually see it? There's water everywhere. And you might say, well, it rained over the weekend, and that water's from that rain. But you notice how dry everything else is? Because it wasn't much of a rain. Yes, it did dampen lightly the soil. Everything's damp on top, just damp. There was no standing water anywhere. So this standing water here has nothing to do with the fact that it rained over the weekend. And the reason I know that is because it was there before it rained also. And it was very dry before it rained. Notice that it keeps coming all the way up in here, and I'm swishing water, if you can see that. Now, it keeps going, not so much up here, but you can still tell it's kind of damp up here. The problem is, I don't know where it starts, but I think it's coming out of there, and that ain't good. My suspicion is that it's these big trees getting drinks, and the water's following the roots back here, and that ain't good. I ain't happy about this at all. You can see there's water down under there even. I don't know how I'm going to fix this. I have fixed this problem multiple times on this dam, actually, believe it or not. When I bought this farm, and I've said this before, but when I bought this farm, you literally could not get to the water's edge. There were trees everywhere growed up on this bank. And as I've told you before too, on this end, they had the dirt mounded up from about right here all the way around about over there, and it was like 8 feet higher than it is now, which is really stupid. You just can't imagine why you would do that. Unless they were planning on bringing the whole thing that high all the way around, and I don't think they were planning to do that. I don't know. Anyway, they had let it go so long that there were trees everywhere, and the roots had grown through the dam everywhere, and there were leaks everywhere. So I had to dig down, get the roots out, fill the dirt holes back up with dirt, and plug the leaks. That's what I think I'm going to have to do here. I just don't know where to start. I can't really tell where this water's starting. It's a little bit wet up here. In fact, it's wet, but I don't know where it starts. So I guess what I'm going to do is take the excavator and skim the grass off in, like in this area here, until I find the uppermost location where it is wet, and then be able to observe and see if I can see water flowing through. It's just not easy being me. Did you ever hear that before? It's not easy being me. Man, it seems like there's just something every 5 minutes. That's the way it seems to me. I'm not kidding you. It's just constant. And I don't know. It's just hard to explain. And there was more that I did over the weekend too that are things kind of like that, except maybe not on quite that same scale. That's a pretty big scale there. That's a big problem. But I was able to get it all fixed yet this morning, believe it or not. And I think it's fixed. I'm not 100% sure it's fixed, but you'll see in the video what I did and how I did it. It's a process, man. I'm telling you. I know everybody has these issues, but it seems like I get my fair share, I'll tell you that. Eddie Turner was first one in today. David Tharp says, hello, everyone. Haven't lost my mind. Half of it just wandered off on its own, and the other half went out looking for it. Yeah. Let's see. Gino Hitch. Hello, Jerry and friends. We had some scary storms last night here in Monroe, Ohio. What's new at the Rosa String Works? Well, I just kind of showed you that. It's kind of, I think I've calmed the storm. I hope I have. It was worse than I thought it was, actually. When you see the video, you'll see what I'm talking about. Dottie says, prayers for everybody in the country. That's good. Speaking of the country, I just watched another thing on Elon Musk talking about some of the things that they found, and it's just mind-boggling. It's mind-boggling. And some of the things that I thought they were stretching the truth on a lot of these things. I really did. And it's proven out that they're not stretching the truth. So y'all believe what you want to believe, but I'm glad he's doing what he's doing. Dottie Hillebrand says, bad storms are about to start in an hour here in South Carolina. Well, I hope you make it through them okay. I know, Dottie, I'm still praying for your grandson. I know his surgery's tomorrow, right? David Tharp, here's an interesting bit of history. There was an ancient group of people who never got angry. They were called nomads. I guess that makes sense. See, David Tharp, another little known item, but don't fact check it. Seals keep the ocean from leaking. Pretty sure. Well, I could use some seals on my pond. That's where my problem is. I don't have any seals. Donald Matthews, Itchy Boots, more random help. Yeah, wasn't that funny? I mean, like, again, I don't know how that occurs. In her video, you can't really tell how it actually occurs, but it looks like it's just random, spot on, just spontaneous. She's driving down the highway, and some guy offers her a bottle of water while she's driving a motorcycle down the highway. Does that ever happen here? I mean, like, you see somebody riding down on a motorcycle, you don't just like hold a bottle of water out the window and try to give it to them while they're riding by, It's just crazy. It just seems completely different than I would have ever expected it. And it looks like that there in Saudi Arabia that, it's just the norm is to help everybody out is what it looks like. Wouldn't hurt us if we were kind of like that. Let's see. Todd Bishop. Hello, Jerry, from the 51st state. I'm surprised Trump is still breathing. Yeah, say what you want. I really thought Trump was stretching the truth on everything. I really did. But then the world leaders come in and the NATO leaders come in and they back up his story completely, 100% back it up. I mean, you can't lie if they're right there in your face when you're telling the story, And so I don't know. I was kind of down on Trump, to be honest with you, and I voted for him because I didn't want the other option. That was it. Just I didn't want the other option. But I wasn't really happy to get Trump either, but now I think I kind of am. And in terms of the 51st state, I don't know how you feel about it specifically, but I think it would be the best thing ever if Canada and the United States were completely joined together. Call it a union, call it whatever you want to call it. I don't care if you call it the 51st state or just a joint venture. I don't care what you call it. But I think it would be good if we were one economy, just, one everything. I don't see any negatives to it. That's just me. Simon Jardine, after scraping my guitar for hours, scraping my guitar for hours, that's the English language for you. That could be scrapping or it could be scraping. Or maybe not. I don't know. Maybe scrapping would be 2 P's. I'm not sure. Well, anyway. For hours with X-Acto blades, yes, I got the fiberglass smell. I went to my belt sander, 600 and 600 grit. The result was instant. Got to be careful, though. The sander is a bit brutal. Well, I'm surprised that you were able to sand it, especially with 600 grit, because I would have expected it to just gum it up instantly. That's what I would have expected. But if it's fiberglass smell, then it might not. It would be more of a dust in sand. It would have gummed it up had it been a different type of finish, like a poly or something. But the epoxy or fiberglass probably wouldn't gum it up as much. Let's see. Todd Bishop, God bless America, Canada, Europe, and everyone else. Yep. Let's see. David Tharp, President Trump is renaming many things. Now, instead of dentures, he thinks they should be called substitutes. Yep. Let's see. I don't have any dentures, but I probably do have a couple substitutes if you count the caps. Let's see. Bill Rhodes, good afternoon. And Bill Webb, good afternoon. And Bill Rhodes says, end all you Rosa rebels. End all you I'm not sure what that means. Sometimes I don't get stuff. Dottie, after we went live, Bill Mumbo, Rod Wintler, and Dottie says, the rings of dirt, that's probably mole crickets. Well, I hadn't thought of that. That's a possibility, I guess. I don't know what a mole cricket is. I've heard of that before. But I guess it could be something like a cricket or a bug or something. They look more like little ant holes, like little ant mounds is what they look like, because they got a circle around them, like that little tiny dirt in a circle. I don't know. Looks like an anthill, but it might be something like that. It might be a cricket or something, because there's hundreds of them. In fact, I'm probably underestimating. There's probably thousands of them. They're just everywhere out there. Hugh O'Connor, in the UK, clocks changed at the weekend. We are now aligned. Well, cool. I didn't know you guys changed time like that. I didn't know. Ronald Todd, Jerry, could those holes in the horse ring be nightcrawler holes? Well, I guess it's a possibility. We did dig up a number of night crawlers while we were digging those post holes to remount the electric. So, I mean, I know we have a lot of night crawlers, that's for sure. Don Nice. Side comment back on the night crawler thing. I don't know if anybody knows you can do this, and I'm not recommending that you do it. I'm just saying you can do it, and it does work. And that is, you can take like a block of wood, put like a long spike rod, steel something into the block of wood, so it's sticking down about, I don't know, 8 inches, 10 inches, a foot, something like that, no particular length. Now, the block of wood is like a 2x4, so you stick it into the end of the 2x4, and the block of wood needs to be about 10 inches long also. And you just stick it up in there so that it's firmly mounted, epoxy it in, whatever you want to do. Then you take like a lamp cord, and I'm just using that as an example so you can kind of understand the concept here. And you plug you take just the hot wire off that lamp cord. So, like there's a neutral and there's a hot wire. You take the hot wire and you connect it to that metal rod. You just get rid of the neutral. You don't use the neutral for anything. And I mean, on the plug end, you just leave it like it is. But on the neutral end that you're going down to the rod, you just cut the neutral off. You don't use it. Just put the hot wire on that and affix it to that metal rod. So now you've got just a block of wood in your hand, and you plunge that rod down in the ground while it's plugged in. I don't know if you've ever done this or not. I have, trust me. And the worms just crawl out of the ground. It's just crazy. They just literally crawl out of the ground. And night crawlers will crawl out like crazy. I promise you, I've done it. It works. I'm not saying you couldn't get killed doing it. You don't want to do it when it's like raining or real wet. You don't want to be standing in a puddle of water. But it works. You didn't hear it here. I'm telling you, don't do it. Somebody's going to go do it just to see if it really does work. And I promise you, it does work. It actually does. Let's see. All right, back to Don Nice. Thank you, Jerry, for doing Mother's Bible. That was a home run for sure with me. Well, good, Don. I'm glad you liked it. It was Gary and Beverly that did it, but they do a good job on that tune. It's a beautiful tune. Ben Boyd, regarding how you see your background, it's confusing because you're looking forward at the screen and seeing these things behind you. You're a viewer, so to speak. Yeah, it's exactly what the problem is I'm seeing it the same way you're seeing it. But you're typically, when you look at your reflection in something, it's a mirror, and it's, you can point right to something in a mirror. Not so much on this. It's completely weird. But it's backwards, yet the words are not written backwards. I can read the words just like you read the words, but it's backwards in real life here. It's hard to explain. It's just hard to explain. But that's why everybody that comes in here gets confused. They look at this screen and they think they can point to something, and you can't do it. Not looking at that screen. David Tharp, they're putting jokes everywhere. They even put one on the bacon package. It said, serving size, 2 pieces. That's hilarious. Yeah, unfortunately, that's the serving size I'm going with these days. I had this morning I had my little 2 pieces of sausage. I cut real thin slices of sausage off, and so one day I have sausage, and the next day I have bacon. But either way, you can't go wrong with either of those. Bill Mumbo, Jerry, when I drove a truck for a print company, I carried cases of water, and several times I gave some to people who'd broken down on the motorway. Well, that's a good thing, and I often will not so much out on the main highway because that's kind of dangerous, but on the side roads, like right off of the main highway, right up at our intersection, lots of times people are broke down up there, and I often stop and ask them if they need help. In fact, I almost always do, unless I already see they've got help. Bill Mumbo, Jerry, moles would be terrible and crickets awfully bad eyesight. Jerry, moles would be terrible and crickets awfully bad eyesight. Okay. Well, I don't know exactly what you're getting at there, but it reminds me of another problem we have here. All of a sudden, the moles are everywhere here. I've never seen it this bad ever. The whole front yard is solid moles. The whole barn lot down there is solid moles. And I'm seriously telling you, I don't mean like one or two. I mean, it looks like there must be 50 of them in each location. It's just nuts. The whole ground is chewed up with it. So I don't know what to do about that. May have to go do some mole mining. Put the old water hose in the ground and see what comes out. And they won't be going back in if they come out. Let's see. Bill Rose says, "Oh, Jerry, it's my phone." Oh, okay, I got you. I just thought you were making some other point there, but I get it. Bo Horn, here in Louisiana, they are crawdaddy holes. He. Yeah, now, they kind of look like that. Honestly, they kind of do, except they're tiny. They're little, and I thought, well, could it, because the creek's right there, I thought, well, could they be like baby crawdad holes or something, I don't know. They kind of look like that, but they also kind of look like little ant holes too. So I don't know what they are. They probably are some kind of bug, cricket or something. Simon Jardine, the belts did gum up, but I bought a pack of belts and most of the poly was gone from my scraping. I'm 4 belts in very quickly, but I'll get there. Yeah, well, there you go. Yeah, I would think they would gum up. Although I think the fiberglass type resin is probably not as bad as the poly resin. Boy, that'll gum it up in a heartbeat. Well, and actually, even nitrocellulose lacquer gums up pretty bad on sandpaper, too. Scott Roberts, welding on a timber deck in a sawmill while laying in a puddle of water during a downpour made me feel like one of those twitching night crawlers. Not recommended either. Yeah, I bet you. Yeah, I've had my share of mild electrocutions while welding, trust me. But I had a ton of them. I was getting shocked all the time. Again, I told you when we bought this place, it wasn't grounded. I'm seriously telling you, nothing was grounded. Not anything. Nowhere, anywhere, on the farm. The barn, nothing. Any place they had electric, nothing was grounded. I'd never seen anything like it. So I couldn't tell you how many ground rods I've driven on this farm, but a bunch. I ground everything there is, sub panels, everything. And I know some people say you're not supposed to ground a sub panel. Well, I ground them anyway, and I haven't had any more trouble. I was getting shocked left and right using that welder, and man, that don't feel good when you get shocked using a welder. So I feel your pain there, Scott. David Tharp, have you ever heard of leftover bacon? No, I haven't. Must be new because you can't find it at my house. Yeah. Let's see. No, you don't ever have leftover bacon, that's for sure. Dottie Hildebrand, mole crickets will tear up golf course. Well, I don't know what those are, honestly. I probably ought to look that up. Scott Roberts, get those thumbs up, people. Yeah, please do that. Bill Mumbo, Jerry, it's coming up to the cricket sports season. Okay. Theron Corbett, how's the turkey activity around the farm. I need to get out. That's what I need to do, is I really need to cut out some time to go turkey hunting this season, and I haven't done that in quite a while. Nothing like hearing the morning gobbles of a big old tom getting ready to fly off the roost. Yep, and calling them up. And, I make my own turkey calls too, so it's kind of fun. It's really fun to call them in and get a turkey with your own turkey call type deal. Scott Roberts, not grounded. That's because Bob wired that place. Yeah. I've told you how many times I've told you, but that's his connections. That's how he made his wire connections, and I'm not exaggerating. They looked exactly like that. He didn't twist them, if you twist them around, and then put a wire nut on them, that's fine. He didn't do that. He just did that and put tape around it. That was it. I'm not kidding. Never seen anybody do anything that stupid in my life, but that's pretty stupid. Bill Rhodes, Jerry, the moles are after grub worms. That's probably true. Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. But just why we have so many all of a sudden. We've never had, we've always had a mole here or there. You just have them, especially out on a farm. But we got a plague of them now. They are bad, really bad. Bill Mumbo, only a third of viewers have used their thumbs up button. Yeah, please click them if you would, please. Richard Polite, maybe a belt sander eraser would work. Yeah, they do help, but honestly, that finish, it sticks. It don't come off. Once it gets on the belt, it don't hardly come off. Ask me how I know. It just won't. And I've got plenty of those erasers. I have a lot of them, actually, down at the shop. Ron, I can't even talk. Ronald Todd, not sure I would be using a belt sander on a guitar, maybe an orbital sander with a very fine grit up to 800. Yeah, again, a belt sander is a risky deal on a guitar. I have to agree with that. I think an orbital sander would be my choice, a palm sander or something like that. Scott Roberts, thanks for the visual, Jerry. Wiring got an audible laugh out of me. Yeah, it blows your mind. I've told this at least a dozen times already, but like we would come in the house and like we got a long hall over that direction from the house from here. And down that long hall, there was a light switch in the hall. And there was a light switch then in the bathroom to go into the hall bathroom. So when you would turn on that hall bathroom light, sometimes it would come on, and the next time it wouldn't. It's like, what's up with that? You just like if you hold your mouth right, it would work, and sometimes it would work and sometimes it wouldn't. Well, then I got to investigating and I took it all apart, and that's how he made his connections. Unbelievable. Just unbelievable. That's so stupid you can't even put words on that. It's just ridiculous. Preston Johnson, try your worm shocker on the moles. That's an idea. That is an idea. But I'm not kidding you about that. Getting the worms out of the ground. They just, it doesn't take 5 minutes. It's like as soon as you poke it in, you start seeing worms coming out of the ground. It's crazy. Now, it probably wouldn't work if you got just solid dry dirt, but if your ground is, just slightly moist, and I don't mean wet, I mean like just moist, and you stick that in the ground, they start crawling out just instantly. Scott Roberts, I'm surprised Bob didn't use Scotch tape on those connections. Yeah, it was the old black, cloth tape too. It wasn't even the good tape either. It was a mess. Bob owned the place for like 25 years before I got it. So it was 50 years between him and me now. I'm pretty sure that the second 25 has done more for the place than the first 25. Oh my gosh. It was so bad. But I have to say, he's the reason I was able to afford it, though. If you really get to thinking about it, he kind of did me a favor because he trashed it so bad that nobody jumped on it instantly except me. I mean, it's 280 acres. They were only asking $250,000 for it. And it's got, it had 2 houses on it and, all these buildings and 2 wells and a pond, and surrounded by Mark Twain Forest. And it was a no-brainer. It was a no-brainer. And it would have been a no-brainer for anybody except for the fact that it was trashed like the city dump. It looked like the city dump. I'm not exaggerating about that. We didn't take pictures of that because when you're buying something like that, that's not what you want to show people. You know what I'm saying? And we never thought about the fact that we should have had a before and after. And we just didn't think of it. But seriously, that's the only reason I was able to buy the place, was because he had it so trashed. It just, you can't exaggerate how bad it was trashed. I'm surprised Bob didn't burn the place down. Yeah, me too. We called that tape tar tape. Tar tape. Yeah, it was like a tar tape. It was that old cloth, sticky, nasty junk. It dried out, like in a year, it dries out to where it's just not worth anything. Simon Jardine, yeah, Ronald, I have on here. Oh, okay, that wasn't for me. Well, anyways, guys, I'm going to let that be it. I don't know if I'm going to do anything else the rest of the day or not. I don't know. I mean, I felt like I got through such a crisis this morning with the pond, but I am going to try to get that video. Well, I'm 99.9% sure I'll get that video out maybe just as soon as we hang up here. So I'll start uploading it, and it'll be available to watch here in just a few minutes. But thank you anyway, and thanks for clicking the thumbs up. We will see you tomorrow with something else.